CAS number is specifically for, it is an unique number like an Aadhaar to track the chemical. And with respect to UN number, it is given by the UN nations for the specific hazardous material identification. Then we talked about the HAZECAM, which is Hazardous Chemicals Emergency Action Code. So here the number which indicates about the type of extinguisher to be used, and also either the chemical can be diluted or it can be contained, and also evacuation is needed or not. So based on the numbers we can define. Okay. Then we have seen the sample example.
డిస్ప్లే కనిపించలేదు సార్.
Display కనిపించట్లేదా? One second. I'll share again. Not shown displays or presentation is not visible. Okay, fine. I'll reshare again. Just give me a second. Okay. Then we have seen. Is it visible now?
Yeah, sir. Yes.
Sorry. Okay, thanks. Yes, it is visible. Then we have seen the ESE Emergency Action Code, so which talks about type of extinguishing media, personal protective equipments required, etc. Then we have discussed about ADR, which is specifically for the transportation of goods to European region. Then we have discussed the physical properties of the chemical, which is talks about order, etc. Then we have seen specific gravity, which is we always compare with the water. Basically, the specific gravity is useful in part of firefighting. Then we have seen vapor density. So vapor density we compare always with the air. So whenever we have a less vapor density, those kind of chemicals always tends to rise up. Whichever the chemicals which have the higher vapor density, they tends to settle in the negative heights. So when we say negative heights, they try to settle in the pits or any gutters or any pipelines or tunnels or any undergrounds, etc., etc. And this vapor density of the chemical is useful for design of ventilation, also emergency evacuation. Then we have seen boiling point, which is nothing but the liquids will be turned to gases. Then we have seen melting point. It is also a temperature where a solid material is converted into liquids. Then freezing points, liquids to solids. Then we have seen vapor density, or vapor pressure. Then solubility. Then we have discussed pH. I mean the presence of hydrogen ions in a liquid. Then we also discussed flash point and auto ignition temperature. So flash point is nothing but it is basically a smallest temperature. I mean the temperature at which it starts giving enough vapor, it can ignite in case of any source of ignition available. Then auto ignition temperatures, again these are the temperature at which it can ignite automatically without any external source of ignition. Then trem card also we have seen yesterday. So basically we give these trem cards are used to indicate the hazards and also safety precautions with respect to the materials. Okay. Now we'll see some of the safety precautions and also supervision medical examinations with respect to handling of chemicals. So when you say the danger of working with chemical and substances can be reduced to minimum by observing certain sample basic rules. We'll see now some sample rules or safety rules. By following this, we can avoid the contamination, or we can avoid the exposure of the chemical. The gaseous, liquids, or solids and chemical substances whose properties are not fully known should be treated as dangerous and handled very carefully. So, if you come across with any situation, whatever the chemical, either maybe it in the form of gas or in the form of liquid or in the form of solid, if you are unknown the properties of the specific material, you should treat as hazardous. Or you can treat as it is an corrosive, or you can treat as an flammable, or you can treat this as a multi natural chemical. It means you can assume this chemical have a corrosive nature, toxic nature, and also flammable nature. Whenever you are unknown, and avoid contact with chemical substances. Chemical should always be handled mechanically or with protective equipment. Containers and implements which can be contaminated with chemicals should be handled wearing gloves. In special cases, additional protective measures will be utilized. So we always try to avoid contacting with the chemicals. Our chemical should be always handled mechanically with the proper PPEs, and also in case of any additional PPEs required. Sometimes specific PPEs for the different types of chemical or the atmosphere. Like we have seen different types of nose mask for the mechanical filter or chemical filter, etc. And also the gloves also. Even gloves will one of the part of the PPEs we should use. సో బేసిక్ ఏంటంటే మీకు తెలియని కెమికల్ మీరు యూజ్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు దాన్ని ఎప్పుడు కూడాను ప్రమాదకరమైన కెమికల్గా దాన్ని మీరు ట్రీట్ చేయాలి. ఇన్ కేస్ ఆఫ్ మీరు కెమికల్ హ్యాండిల్ చేసినప్పుడు దాన్ని టచ్ చేయకుండా ఉండటము, దానికి సంబంధించిన భద్రతా పరికరాలను యూజ్ చేయటము, ఇన్ కేస్ ఆఫ్ ఎనీ స్పెషల్ రిక్వైర్మెంట్స్ ఉంటే వాటిని ఫాలో అవ్వాలి. Then cleanliness is a basic requirement of safe working with chemicals. So cleanliness also very important, and emissions of dust, vapors and gases and spillages of the liquids and solids can be largely eliminated by careful working. Local ventilation installation must be used. Implement should be cleaned or immediately after use. Okay, whenever you are handling a chemical, the facility should be very clean. In case of any spillages happens, it has to be removed immediately. And also we have to avoid the accumulation of the dust and also vapors and gases. So by putting the local exhaust ventilation, so whatever the emissions or dust or vapors which is generated in the facility, it can be taken out immediately. And also we have to use proper PPEs. Then chemical substance should be always be used exactly according to the written procedures. So when I say written procedures, SOP also, sorry, MSDS, material safety data sheet also can be referred as a procedure, because there we have different properties, I mean physical properties or chemical properties, in case of any chemical contact, first aid measures, and also we can get also firefighting information, storage information or disposal information. So accordingly we can use MSDS as a procedure. Apart from this, we can also use your local procedures, I mean site specific procedures or activity specific procedures. Okay. And anyone deviating from the procedure on his own responsibility, it is a danger to himself or others. So these are the unsafe actions. Somebody is deviating the required procedure, then it is going to be his own risk, and also it will be a risk to others also. Then chemical should be only used when the drums or sacks or containers, pipelines containing them are clearly labeled. So it is very important. There are cases reported, especially in the construction industries also. The best example is thinner. So thinner we used to get in the bottles. It is similar to water. So if the person is very thirsty, so immediately he can open the bottle and he can consume. So that's why it is always advisable to not to store any chemicals on the general water bottles. It should have a dedicated drums or sacks or bottles, and also they must be labeled. Otherwise, there will be a chance of misuse. And ensure that the product name and also delivery number on the drums on the delivery note are coincide through the appearance alone. To guarantee of a correct identity, visual check should be made. In the case of doubts, when the mix-up has actually occurred, a report must be made immediately. So basically, to summarize this, so whatever the chemicals you are handling, it should, all the containers should have a labeling with the chemical name and also product name, container when it is delivered. Even if it is delivered there, also if it is not there, also fine. It should have a chemical label. So delivery and all, they have, if it is came from the supplier, definitely it will have. It is basically while handling for internal purposes or sampling purposes. And also in case of any mix up happens, accidental or spillages or mix up happens, the report has to be made immediately. Then many high corrosive chemicals may only be used under strict controlled conditions. For substances which react violently with water, and the water contact should be avoided. So some of the chemicals uh, which will have highly incompatible with water, even the moisture which is there in the atmosphere also. I mean, the example is sodium. So those chemicals must be handled under the controlled conditions, and also we have to avoid contaminated with the water and water vapor, etc. Then substance which decompose dangerously under the influence of air or elevated temperature, impact or pressure, or contact with the catalyst or appropriate safety measures contained in the written procedure should be followed. సో బేసికలీ ఎప్పుడైతే మీకు హైలీ రియాక్టివ్ అంటే పేలుడు స్వభావం ఉన్నవి వాటర్తో కలిస్తే ఆ, ప్రమాదకరమైన కెమికల్స్ అన్నింటిని కూడాను మనము భద్రతా పరమైన నియమాలన్నింటినీ పాటిస్తూ వాటిని హ్యాండిల్ చేస్తూ ఉండాలి. Some other substances are decompose in the sense they get damaged, or they change their chemical structure under the various influences. Maybe once it is get in contact with air, then it will get damaged. So once it temperature elevated, then also it gets decomposes. Then any impact or falling from heights, or something is fallen on that bag, then also it get decompose, or pressure or contact with the catalyst, etc., etc. All these things are can be possible. So we should use a standard operating procedure to handle such chemicals. Okay. Then dry at low temperature or release the vacuum in the vacuum dryers with an inert gas instead of air. Do not open the dryer before room temperature has been attained. Release the vacuum in the vacuum distillators with an inert gases. And exposure distillation residues to air only when it is cold. Handle and store catalyst only under specialized or defined conditions. Prevent components which are particularly prone to decomposition. So when it is decomposition, we have when we say dry at low temperatures and release the vacuum in the vacuum dryers with an inert gas. So when we say vacuum in the dryer, in the sense the inert gases like nitrogen. I mean, the best example as an inert gas to avoid any sparks or etc. In case of any fine particles, due to the high pressure, there might be a chance of generation of sparks. Do not open dryer before the room temperature has been attained. That is also one thing we have to follow. And release the vacuum in the vacuum distillation with an inert gases. So vacuum also we have to do with the inert gas to avoid any atmosphere which can create a fire. Then expose distillation residues to air only when it is cold. So when they say distillation residues, like solvents or the final end, once the distillation happens, we'll have an end product. Those we can allow them to expose air when it is in cold conditions or the atmosphere is cold. handle and store catalyst only under the special defined conditions. When I say catalyst, these are the specific materials or chemicals which will uh, what you do is it will not participate in the reaction, but it will speed up the reaction. So basically, catalyst in the sense it will speed up the reaction process when you are using catalyst in the your chemical reaction. It will not involve in the reaction. It will not involve in the reaction in the sense the end product. In the end product, once you have done your process, once you have done your chemical reaction, in the product, the catalyst substances will not be there. It is just uh, I mean, I can it's an encouragement or the boosting source to make it the reaction as possible and prevent the compounds which are particularly prone to decomposition. And also, it is also one thing we have to prevent from a drying out or leaks or any splashes. In case of any components which will have this decomposition property, we should try to from the dry out or also leakages and also from the splashes. Then substances which ignite spontaneously, like white phosphorus or pyrophoric catalyst, should be handled under the inert gas or liquids. So even again, I'll take an example of sodium also here. So when I say some of the chemicals, even catalyst, mostly we handle under the inert atmosphere, like nitrogen, or we can use other. I mean, argon. I don't know whether argon is mostly we use nitrogen to create an inert atmosphere. When you say inert atmosphere, there is no presence of oxygen. So it is used basically to, I mean, we create inert atmosphere to avoid the uh, fire accidents. So basically, when we say fire accident, I mean avoiding a fire accident, we are taking out the oxygen from the immediate in the vicinity, so that without the presence of oxygen, the fire can't ignite. That is the agenda. And where necessary, special protective clothing, keep the prescribed means of extinguishing media on hand. So we have to have suitable fire extinguishing medium, and also we should have enough care to handle. Okay. Then prevent the possibility of dangerous combinations. Follow the written procedure preciously when preparing work, or ensure complete separation of compounds which are dangerous when mixed. So point number is 9 is simply talking about the uh, incompatibility. So whenever you are handling the different types of chemicals, so you should always ensure that the compatibility, even in the storing conditions also, you have to ensure that you should check the compatibility of the material. Okay, so that you can able to avoid the accidents. And also sometimes if they mix together, then it is down to its dangerous properties. So those cases also we have to consider. Then not only the actual explosives, but also the enormous widely used chemicals can explode when exposed to catalyst, heat, or impact. Examples will acetylene and also derivatives of acetylene and acetyl nitrate, acrylic acid or its esters, and ethylene oxide or azides, and also enzomethane, peroxides or chlorides, etc., etc. So, not only pure explosives, some of the chemicals which can contact or exposed to catalyst or heat or impact, they can chance. For example, gunmetal or gunpowder. In case of any impact created on that metal, it can explode. So, handling of such components is governed by the special safety measures which are to be found in the written procedures. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ ఆల్సో ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఎప్పుడైతే మనకి పేలుడు స్వభావం ఉన్న పదార్థాలు లేదంటే రసాయనాలు మనం యూజ్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు సమ్ టైమ్ ఏంటంటే వాటికి ఒత్తిడికి గురైనా కానీ లేదంటే వేరే కెమికల్తోని కాంటాక్ట్ అయినప్పుడు అవి పేలే స్వభావం లేదంటే పేలేదానికి ఛాన్సెస్ ఉంటాయి. సో వాటిని ఏంటంటే స్పెషల్ సేఫ్టీ ప్రికాషన్స్ యూస్ చేసి మనము హ్యాండిల్ చేయాలి. So chemicals which are spilled or contaminated should not be simply discarded in the refuse bin, but disposed of according to the instructions from the supervisor. So here I would like to add one more point. Not only the supervisor, so we have to decide. So yesterday we have seen in the disposal section of MSDS, so whatever the chemical you are discarding or disposing, so you have to define whether is it hazardous or non-hazardous. When you categorized it as an hazardous, so you have to treat the chemical as hazardous. You have to send it to the authorized recyclers. ఎప్పుడైతే మనము ఏదైనా ఒక కెమికల్ని డిస్పోజ్ చేయాలనుకున్నప్పుడు దాన్ని మనం డిసైడ్ చేయాలి, ఇది హజార్డసా లేదంటే నాన్ హజార్డ్, అంటే ప్రమాదకరమైనది లేదంటే ప్రమాదకరం కానిది. దాన్ని బట్టి మనం డిస్పోజ్ చేయాలి. వెన్ యూ ట్రీట్ ఇట్ as an hazardous, so you have to store it properly, then you have to give it to the authorized recycler. And the quantities of chemicals stored in the chemical plant at any time should be kept to a minimum required for normal working. So this is also very important. It is nothing but maintaining the safe inventory and also FIFO method. So how many of you know FIFO method? FIFO? FIFO method. Anybody familiar? I think.
First in, first out.
first out.
Okay, very good. Everybody knows it. Thanks a lot. So when we say first in, first out, so whatever the batch or the list of chemicals you are received in the first month, for example, January, then again you got a lot in February. So you should not take the material which is in the February until unless you are finishing the lot which we brought in January. Sometimes what will happen, okay, the store people have been kept in front of the material, so immediately whatever is available they will pick immediately. So it should not be. So we should have FIFO method so that we can avoid the expiry of material, so that we can avoid some cost. And also whenever it is required, you should have to maintain only the minimum inventory. So when I say minimum inventory,
సార్ రిక్వెస్ట్, ఈ ఫస్ట్ ఇన్ ఫస్ట్ అవుట్ అంటే ఒక సీక్వెన్స్ గా అంటే ఒక కోడింగ్ ఏముంటది అండి వాటికి కెమికల్స్ ప్యాకెట్
ఉంటుంది, లాట్ కోడింగ్ ఉంటుంది. yes 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 yes
సీక్వెన్స్ గా మనం అరేంజ్ చేస్తాం కానీ దానికి కోడింగ్ ఏముంటదండి ఫస్ట్ ఇన్ ఫస్ట్ అవుట్?
ఇన్వెంటరీలో ఉంటుంది. ఇన్వెంటరీలో మీకు SAP లో ఇన్వెంటరీలో తెలుస్తుంది అది.
ఓకే ఓకే సార్,
ఇన్వెంటరీలో తెలుస్తుంది. సో బేసిక్ ఏంటంటే ఇంత ముందు ఎప్పుడైతే మనకి ట్రాకింగ్ సిస్టమ్స్ ఈ ఇన్వెంటరీ ట్రాకర్స్ లేవో అప్పుడు మనకి ఆర్డర్లో పెట్టుకునేవాళ్ళు.
అవునవును.
ఏంటంటే మనకి ర్యాక్స్, మనకి స్టోరేజ్ ర్యాక్స్ ఇవన్నీ ఉంటాయి కాబట్టి మనకి ఇన్వెంటరీలో తెలిసిపోతుంది ఏ లాట్ ఎప్పుడు వచ్చింది. ఎందుకంటే ప్రతి బ్యాచ్ కి మీరు కొన్నప్పుడు ఆ బ్యాచ్ నెంబర్, లాట్ నెంబర్ ఉంటుంది కాబట్టి ఆ లాట్ నెంబర్ బేస్ చేసుకొని మీరు ట్రాక్ చేయొచ్చు.
ఓకే సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ.
ఓకే, థ్యాంక్స్. Then regarding the point number 12, it is also in a legal requirement. So the minimum inventories, in the sense, when you talk about MSIC rules, in the schedules, we have 1, 2, 3 schedules. In the schedules, they will clearly mention a specific chemical should not exceed, even some of the chemicals you should not exceed even 1 kilo. So we are not supposed to exceed the threshold quantity of the chemicals. We have to check the legal requirements also. Okay, that is also covers point number 12. One is to safeguard your facility, and second is to avoid the wastage of the chemical in part of by expiring the chemical, and third one is legal requirement. These 3 points you can check in point number 12. Then before starting any process, its raw materials, their properties like MSDS chemical equations, its working temperature and pressure, flow or addition rate, type of vessel and its safety fittings, emergency controls, planning and procedures, evaluation of gases or complete reaction document, how it can go wrong, and also what should be its consequences, type of ventilation, electric fittings, personal protective equipment, trips and alarms, safe closure down procedure. When I say closure down procedure, emergency shutdown procedure must be known and studied. So this point number 13, it gives the complete picture of an employee who is attending or operating in a reactor. So when I say an operator is operating in a reactor, so he should know about the process, how this reaction can be prepared. So what are the raw materials I am supposed to take? Because it is not the reactor that you will go and bring 2 barrels of chemical you pour in the reactor. So it is completely based on through pipelines and the motors. Then their properties. They should know all the properties of the chemical, and also at what temperature, at what pressure we are going to do this reaction, and also flow and addition rate. So at what speed, at what rate we are adding addition of different chemicals in which vessel. When I say vessel, we have two different types of reactors basically. Any idea types of reactors? I think anybody working in chemical industry, they will be known.
Exothermic and
No,
endothermic.
not reaction, Srinivas. I'm sorry, reactors.
Continuous and batch type.
SS reactors, GLR, sir.
Perfect. I think Ramakrishna, you're working in pharma or any chemical company?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Understood. Okay, Srinivas, when we say reactors, I think you are not familiar with
glass line reactors, sir.
yeah.
We are working reactors, sir, but type of reactors missing.
Yeah, correct.
Chemicals we work
Basically, in pharma, commonly there are 2 types of reactors. One is SS, or we'll say stainless steel. Another one is GLR, glass lined reactors. The glass lined will be preferred to have the acidic or acids.
Acidic reactions, sir.
Yeah, acidic reactions, and SS will be for the, apart from acidic, other reactions they use the SS reactors. Okay, fine. So that is also very important. You can't take any acids into the SS, so it get corroded.
Sir, one more halar type addition tanks కూడా ఉంటాయి సార్, halar అంటారు కండి అవి కూడా.
యా రామకృష్ణ, మనం అంత డెప్త్ పోకూడదు ఇప్పుడు, అది మనకి అన్నెసరీ, అందరూ కన్ఫ్యూజ్ అయిపోతారు.
ఇట్స్ ఓకే సార్, క్యారీ ఆన్.
యా, థ్యాంక్స్ ఫర్ యువర్ ఇన్పుట్. Yeah, then we should know the raw materials we are adding, then properties of raw materials. Sorry, something is wrong, it is jumping here and there. Yeah, raw materials, properties of the raw materials, and the temperature. Here we use the batch sheets. Then we'll have emergency controls. The operator also should know the emergency controls on the reactor. So how I can shut down. So here if we say emergency, we'll have emergency for agitator motor we have, and also we'll have another emergency to control the utilities. So around the jackets we'll have around the reactor we'll have a jacket. There will have different types of utilities like hot oil or steam or hot water, sometimes cold water, brain. These are different types of utilities we use. I mean the heating sources. When I say hot water, hot oil, steam, these are used to heat up the reaction. Or when I say brain, it is in a cooling properties. It can able to cool the temperature. Sorry guys, it is jumping. Something is wrong with my laptop. It is going here and there without my intervention. Okay. Okay. Then complete reaction document, the batch process sheet or procedure. Then, or he should also know what are the various possibilities, what can go wrong, and also the consequences. So sometimes what will happen, due to sudden temperature rise or improper addition rate, there will be a chance of exothermic reaction. When I say exothermic reaction, suddenly increase of high temperatures, which means the temperature will rise to more than 10 times on the reaction temperature. So we should be able to know, in case of exothermic reaction, what will be the action or what are the things I have to perform. I means the operator. Then trips, alarms, and also safe shutdown. So what are the trips? Sometimes tripping, you should know some of the indicators, alarms, which is giving from the process equipment. You should be well familiar with that. Okay, these are the things should be familiarized by the all the operators, whoever is operating the respective equipments. Okay. Then supervision by the qualified supervisors. So under the 41 C of the Factories Act, a qualified supervisor are required to supervise handling of hazardous substances, and also rule number 68 of Gujarat and even factories also, AP factories rules also. BSc or MSc with chemistry or diploma or a degree in chemical engineering with an experience. So we should also have a qualified, sometimes apart from qualification, I also prefer with an experience, or qualified will not have experience sometimes because of degree. They would have done in IIMs or some reputed colleges, they may come at that positions, but experience also matters. Okay, those are the rules we should follow for the better handling of chemicals, and also we can prevent the accidents. Then what are the information we should inform? So MSDS, material safety data sheet, with respect to the hazardous substance handled in the manufacturing, storage, transportation and storage in the factory, and their location and availability to the workers. So when we say location and availability, so wherever you are having handling a chemical, you should try to keep an MSDS, material safety data sheet, so most of the people can understand. So if you are most of the people will speak and understand Telugu, so you should always keep one copy of local language and one copy of a common language like English, so that they can understand. And I also prefer to visualize that MSDS. So as we seen, those are 16 sections. So if we keep that MSDS, even though it is Telugu, there are people who don't know to read Telugu also. It will be difficult for them to understand. So there you can have a visual representation, so that you can convert this text format into a pictorial representation, so that they can able to understand better. Okay, that is also one important thing we have to consider. Okay, then list of hazardous processes carried out in the factory. So they should also familiar with what are the various hazardous processes, in the sense manufacturing processes which are hazardous in nature, that also they should know. When we tell this information, basically during the induction process, we'll inform all these cases. So what is the nature of the process, what are the hazards which are which is in the process, and also will inform what are the existing controls, and also what are the safety measures we have to take while handling those chemicals. Okay, the physical and health hazards arising from the exposure to or handling substances. So it is also very important, physical and health hazards arising from exposure to the handling of substances. So this is also very important. Most of the, I mean, Amalis or day-to-day wages, I see in especially North Indian people, they handle these chemicals very rudely. They won't use mask or something. They have two, three packets of gutka or pan or tambak. Then that is the medicine for them. So it is the basic responsibility of an employer. You have to inform, or you have to make them aware that what are the hazards associated with the chemicals which they are handling. Okay, that is also important. Okay, then safety and control measures taken for above hazards. So when we say taken, in the sense which are existing, so what are the safety measures which are existing in place, we have to explain. And ఏవైతే భద్రతా పరమైన ఎక్విప్మెంట్స్ కానీ పీపీఈస్ కానీ కంట్రోల్స్ కానీ ఏమేమి ఉన్నాయో వాటి గురించి కూడా మనం ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయాలి. అంటే ఎక్కడ ఉన్నాయి, అవి ఎలా పనిచేస్తాయి, వాటి యొక్క నెసెసిటీ, అంటే ఎప్పుడు యూజ్ చేయాలి, what are the safety controls in place, how they work, at what situations they have to use those controls. Okay, these things are very important. And measures to be taken by the workers to ensure safe handling, storage, and transportation of hazardous substance. So, what are the do's and don'ts while handling of these chemicals? అంటే ఈ కెమికల్స్ని మనం క్యారీ చేసేటప్పుడు, ట్రాన్స్పోర్ట్ చేసేటప్పుడు మనం చేయాల్సిన ఆర్ ఫాలో కావాల్సిన సూత్రాలు, సేఫ్టీ రూల్స్, దాని గురించి కూడా మనం చెప్పాలి. దెన్ పీపీఈ. సో పీపీఈ టు బి యూస్డ్ బై ద వర్కర్స్. What are the respective PPE to be used for their specific activity? So it is also very important. So for all the chemicals, all the PPEs are not suitable. So based on their activity, nature of the activity, we have to suggest. That's where most of the people, they used to have activity specific PPEs, or they used to make the PPE matrix. Another option is in the procedure itself or work instruction itself. They will keep it as one heading saying that or required PPE is supposed to be used, so that the supervisor or the reader can understand that while I am performing this specific activity, I have to use this set of PPEs so that I can avoid the exposure. Then meaning of labels and markings on the containers. Yes, this is very, very important. So when we say meaning of the labels and markings, so basically what are the labels we'll see on the chemical containers? We have 30 seconds. What are the various labels?
hazard, potential hazard.
लक्ष्मीदास जी बताइए.
It is related to hazard and precaution.
Okay, hazard specific. It indicates the type of hazard which is with the chemical.